I am making my most viral recipe today, which is my garlic confit butter bread. But I'm not gonna make it one way or two, I'm gonna show you how to make it 3 different ways. You all go absolutely nuts when I post a garlic bread recipe, and I love that you love it just as much as I do. And that's why I'm going to show you how to make it 3 different ways, because there is so much that you can do with the garlic butter that I make up, that you can use it in my no knead focaccia recipe to turn into a garlic bread. You can slice it up to turn into a pull apart cheesy garlic bread, or an open faced garlic bread sandwich with a little drizzle of hot honey. Obviously, you are going to need a lot of garlic today, and that's 6 to 8 bulbs to be exact, so it is a lot. But that's because we are making a big batch of this garlic butter, and there are so many uses for it, which is why I always like to make it in a huge batch and have it in the fridge. If you don't want to use it to make garlic bread, you can use it to make a garlic butter roast chicken. You can drizzle it over some vegetables and slow roast it for those garlic buttery vegetables. The options are endless. So to get started, we are just going to slice the top off these garlic bulbs. You could use my garlic confit to make this garlic butter as well, but because we don't need the garlic infused olive oil in the garlic butter recipe, I'm going to do it the cheat way and just slice it off, drizzle some olive oil over it, and slow roast it in some alfoil. So we're just going to slice the tip off. And you just want to expose the cloves like this. We're going to do that to 8 bulbs. And I know it sounds like a huge amount of garlic, but when we're slow roasting garlic, we're changing the flavor of it from that more familiar pungent bitter taste to a caramelized sweet and buttery taste. Oh, I need to get a sharp knife. Okay, so we've cut up our garlic. You can see that all of those cloves are exposed. Now I'm just gonna grab a sheet of alfoil. You could put these in a roasting tray as well, just as long as it has a lid so the cloves aren't fully exposed when baking, otherwise they're gonna burn a little bit. Just scatter those around. Just drizzle the tops with olive oil, a pinch of salt, and then some pepper as well. Now we just wrap it up, because as I said, we don't want the garlic to cook unexposed. We need it to be covered. It'll also create a little bit of steam. All right, that is looking perfect, the perfect garlic pocket. And now I'm gonna pop it in the oven for 1 hour at 170, 180 degrees Celsius. And that's just gonna cook slowly away until it's beautifully soft and we can squeeze it out of the skin. While the garlic roasts, I'm going to make the hot honey for one of those garlic breads. And you might be wondering, why are we putting hot honey onto a garlic bread? And that's because it's so sweet and spicy that it perfectly complements that creamy garlic buttery taste that's throughout the bread. I promise you, once you try hot honey on your garlic bread, you will not turn back. Now, hot honey has its name because it's honey with chili in it. So it does have a little bit of a kick, but it's like that sweet and spicy taste where the spiciness is sort of complemented or balanced out by that sweet honey. I've got my honey here. I would usually not use Manuka honey, but this is all I had in my pantry, but it's gonna work just as well. This is 500 grams, so we're gonna say about 250 milliliters of honey. And then we need about 2, maybe 1 tablespoon of chili flakes. Then just for that extra kick, I'm gonna add a splash of Tabasco sauce. And then just to balance out all those strong flavors, I'm gonna put a little bit of acid in there from a lemon. And we're just gonna cook this on the stove on a low heat until all of those flavors are combined. There's a little slight bubble to the honey and it's perfectly runny and delicious. I've just taken that hot honey off the stove and you can see it's got that beautiful liquidy consistency. And I must admit, I did go a little hard on the chili. My cameraman was just like, oh, that's gonna be spicy. I'm just gonna store it in a jar. It will keep in the pantry for a really long time and you can drizzle it onto anything and everything, but I'm gonna drizzle it onto that garlic bread today and it's just gonna make it extra delicious. So that garlic's been roasting for 1 hour. Yum! And it is beautifully soft, tender, caramelized, buttery, everything we want. Now I'm just gonna let that cool until it's cool enough for me to handle, and then we're gonna squeeze out all those cloves and turn it into the most delicious garlic butter. And just a little warning, this is extremely satisfying. Oh, that is perfect. That's the perfect consistency that we want it to be. Soft and buttery and golden. Now that is a lot of garlic we have, but as I said, we're making a big batch, but either way, no judgment if you want to use more garlic and go a little harder than I have. Now I just want to show you how gorgeous that texture is. And you'll see that was just so soft. I barely had to apply any pressure to squash those cloves. All right, so let's get on to our garlic butter. We need a fair whack of butter because I like to make it in a large batch and then store it in my fridge. I actually have one already made up that I'll show you. So I like to roll it up into a log, and that's how easy it is to have garlic butter in your fridge. So I'm using a food processor today to make that garlic butter, but you could easily do this by hand. Just pop it all in a bowl instead and mash it up with a fork. It won't be as smooth, it'll be a little bit chunkier, but there's nothing wrong with that. I've got so much garlic, I think I'm just gonna use the whole stick of butter. So that's 500 grams. And this butter is at room temperature. It's important it's soft, otherwise we're not going to be able to mash up all of those ingredients into it or blend it in the food processor. Now we're gonna get all of that beautiful garlic and pop it in. Ooh, yum. All right, and then I've got a little bit of parsley. This just adds a lovely vibrancy and freshness. So I'm gonna use a good handful of it, and that can just go in like that. We don't need to chop that up. We'll let the blender do the work for us. And then just to make it extra indulgent, I'm going to sprinkle some Parmesan in there, or Parmigiano Reggiano. And you want a fair whack, about 50 grams. And then just a little sprinkle of salt and pepper. That is looking pretty good to me. It's been whipped to perfection. You'll see that that garlic's just melted into the butter. The parsley's been finely chopped and the cheese is all throughout. It's just perfect. Because we don't need all that butter today, I'm just going to show you how I store it up in the fridge. You've already seen one in there, but I'll show you how to make the log. So just get some baking paper. And this also makes the perfect gift. I like to make homemade butter or my garlic butter for people at Christmas time. So I wrap it up in this baking paper, I put some little brown string on it, a little handwritten note, and it goes down such a treat as the most beautiful personalized present. And then we just want to grab this edge and then roll it up like this. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then get those end edges and twirl one towards you and one away. So opposite directions. And there you go, your log of garlic butter to keep in the fridge. So we are making garlic bread 3 ways, and this is my first way to do it. So this is the open face garlic bread that I'm going to use the hot honey that I made earlier to drizzle over it. So we're going to get a big piece of ciabatta and then we're going to slice it in half. Okay, so you could use the 2 slices if you wanted to make a huge amount of garlic bread, but I'm just going to do half today. Probably going to do the thinner half, I think. All right, so let's get our garlic butter. And we want quite a hefty amount. And I'm just going to slather that on there. And then we want to put even more Parmesan cheese on it. I know that Parmesan is already in the butter, but you can't go wrong with extra cheese for a garlic bread, I say. And then just a little bit of mozzarella to make it extra gooey and delicious. And now we're going to put that under the broiler until it's nice and golden and gooey. I think it's for about 5 to 10 minutes, just until that cheese is melted and we've got a nice crispy golden garlic bread. I've pulled that out of the grill and it just smells and looks so good, but just a few more final touches before we cut into this one is that hot honey we made. Just going to drizzle some over. Now let's slice it up. Yum. Look at that beautiful slice of garlic bread, and so easy to make. Now let's get on to the second one. Garlic bread number 2. So this is a pull apart garlic bread, and it uses the same butter and the same cheeses, but we bake it for a little bit longer to get it a bit more gooier, and so we can pull it apart and have that oozy cheese moment. So I'm using a ciabatta again, but you can use any white loaf of bread that you like. So we're just going to slice it up, and we don't want to go through to the end of the bread. So we want to go down to about here, just so we're leaving a bit of a base so that we can easily pull it apart, but the bread doesn't pull apart when we're filling it with all that butter. I'm going to go with this knife instead of a spoon, see how we go. This is my cheese knife. And you want to do about a tablespoon per slit. So open it up like this and just spread the garlic butter on there. Try and get it on both sides. Yeah, the cheese knife is working a treat. I should have done this earlier. And repeat. Okay, and now I've got my grated mozzarella, and I'm just gonna put a little bit in there, just like a small little handful, and just push it down in there. So we're going to wrap it up really well in alfoil. But I like to do 2 sheets because then when I remove the top, it's just a little bit easier. And then we're going to pop it in the oven and bake it for 20 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius. Remove that alfoil and give it an extra 5 minutes just to toast that top a little more. I've pulled that garlic bread out of the oven. You can see that the cheese has melted away inside, and now I'm going to pull it apart to show you exactly what it looks like. Oh, yum! And that's my beautiful pull apart cheesy garlic bread. And the second way, I have shown you how to use that garlic butter to turn it into a garlic bread. Delicious. Now, last but not least, our third way of making garlic bread, and I'm using my famous no knead focaccia recipe. Look at that, jiggle jiggle. It has been proofing for 2 hours in a warm spot in the house, and you can check out one of my other videos on how to make this recipe in detail. But this is really just a way to show you how some toppings can be used and how it can be turned into a delicious garlic bread. And I've gotten that garlic butter I rolled up out of the fridge. I'm gonna probably need about 2/3 of it. Maybe not all of it, but we'll see how we go. We're just gonna put that in a little pot on the stove. So I've melted that garlic butter on the stove, and you'll see that it's still got a bit of a thicker consistency, and that's because it's a compound butter, which means it has all of those extra elements in it, like the garlic and the cheese and the parsley. But this is what we're looking for. So I'm just gonna put that to the side. I'm gonna grab this beautiful no knead focaccia of mine, and it's already so gassy and bubbly. It is the perfect recipe for the beginner baker. Go check it out, please. Now I'm gonna get some olive oil. All right, now for my favorite part. Now I'm gonna brush some garlic butter on, and not too much. Oh, yummy. Not too much here because we don't want it to burn in the oven. We are gonna add a little extra once it's been baked. One final little drizzle of olive oil. Now we're just going to bake that for 20 to 30 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius. Oh, doesn't that look good? I pulled that garlic bread focaccia out of the oven and it is looking incredible. You can see the lineup of my garlic breads. The first way with hot honey, the second way, which is a pull apart version, and then the third, which is, I know I said I don't like to play favorites with my garlic bread children, but I think the no knead focaccia garlic bread is a little bit my favorite. It just looks and smells so good, and there's something so satisfying about knowing that I made the dough from scratch. So let's cut into this one. Yum, look at that beautiful piece. And you've got the beautiful fluffiness inside. Just looks so good. So there you have it, garlic bread 3 ways using that one garlic butter recipe. Each is equally delicious as the other, and a great way to make a dinner party even more enjoyable by serving one of these garlic breads, popping them on the table and letting your guests just dig into them. I always like to serve this when I'm doing a pasta night, especially when I make my lasagna, which you can watch the video on how to make that in detail, or when I have a bolognese that's been slow cooking all day. It goes amazingly with the garlic bread. If you liked these garlic bread recipes, please like and subscribe and follow for more. And if you made any of them at home, please let me know. I absolutely love hearing about it in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Now, it's time to dig in, and I'm going to dig into this one. Oh, still warm out of the oven. Yum. So good.